Hello and welcome back, Sharkeers, to another episode of Deep Dives with Sharks. I am the host here. My name is Alex, and I appreciate your patience while I was absolutely just missing. I'd also like to apologize a little bit if I sound a little bit raspy today. I did just spend the weekend at a rock music festival called Welcome to Rockville, so that was a really great show, which was fun, but I might sound a little raspy because of that, and I apologize. But I do appreciate your patience and the messages and all your support once again when life got hectic. I was doing an internship Monday through Wednesday and then working Thursday through Sunday. Plus, I had a class on top of that. So I'm impressed I still got an episode out now, even though it was months apart, which I apologize for. But it was very hectic. And it should slow down a little bit coming up. I will still have my internship starting back up after next week. And then I will also still be working Thursday through Sunday, but I shouldn't have another class unless something went wrong, in which case I'll have to take another class, which we'll work it out. Don't worry. But I do still want to try to get episodes out to you guys, and these episodes do take a lot of research. So I was toying with the idea of trying to do sort of like an AMA style or Ask Me Anything, although we do have to keep it PG because A, my mother listens, and B, there's lots of young Sharkeers that listen as well. So we're going to keep things PG and just ask hopefully shark related questions, but you can also ask other related questions, things like that, and I'll see if you guys want to do that or not. So keep an eye on the Instagram so that way I can put a poll up for you guys and we can see if that's something you guys would be interested in hearing. But I'm also got a couple ideas I'm toying with. I'll probably reveal those a little bit later depending on how consistent these episodes come out, because if I'm still at this rate, then there's no reason to try to push more, but we will see. I'm also going to finally put out those episodes where I review a couple shark-related movies, which please keep sending in those suggestions as well. I do have notes done for two of them. I just need to organize them so that way I can get those. I was waiting to see if we were going to do a collaboration with another pod, but that one is currently on hiatus, so I was kind of waiting to see if they were going to come back together, and it's looking like for right now they're going to stay gone for a little bit, so we can add them in a little bit later. For right now, I'm probably going to release those somewhat soon, so that way we have a little bit of a makeup for while I was gone. Also, I do graduate in August, so then I should just only be working, which will be very nice, and I will have more free time once again and should be able to push these out a little bit more consistently, which would be incredible. But I also would like to give a shout out to River W and his dad Peter, who are out in Perth, who many months ago, they sent me a very, very lovely voice message through the app formerly known as Anchor. Now it is Spotify for podcasters, and it was an amazing way to start out that day. I was so excited. Also, I'm starstruck over you. So, River, you are incredible, sir. It's amazing to have an eco warrior such as yourself as one of the Sharkeers. I consider that an absolute honor. And also all the many amazing Sharkeers that are out there. Just each and every one of you are so incredible. And it is amazing that I've got people that listen to me all around the world. And I'm absolutely honored that you were starstruck, quote unquote, that you were able to talk to me, which is rather wild because in my eyes, I am a person who just owned a microphone and an internet connection and found an app that I could talk about sharks. So it's pretty awesome. I'm very happy to do that. Of course, please feel free to reach out whenever any of you can do that as well. And I am more than happy to try to reply as fast as I can. And I appreciate all the interaction I've had with you guys. You all are so incredible. Now, this intro is a little bit longer than usual, but we got through it and we're going to get on to the sharks. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, reach out to me on any of the social media over at Deep Dives with Sharks on Instagram or on Twitter and X. It is at Deep Dive Sharks. So one thing that I wanted to add to the correction corner, or kind of just a fun fact that I wanted to remind everyone of, is the fact that whale sharks are considered carpet sharks, not necessarily because of the fact that they lay on the bottom like other carpet sharks do, such as the wobbegong or the angel shark, but more just because of how they're put together, if that makes sense. So their fins are more off to the side rather than angling down like a great white shark. So kind of just the way that they're built makes them a just gigantic carpet shark, which is wild. And for all we know, they could lay at the bottom. We don't really observe them too often. So a neat thought. But going on to the shark that we have for this week, it is going to be the Bramble Shark. Now, the shark hearers have impressed me once again, as there are many sharks that I've at least heard of, but this is the second shark that was suggested that I didn't really know anything about beforehand. The first one that was mentioned was the angular rough shark, so please keep sending in your suggestions, because there are so many sharks that I might not have heard of and probably don't know a whole lot about, and I'm always incredibly excited to learn more about any type of shark out there, even if it's ones I thought I already knew a lot about. Please keep sending them my way. But going into the Bramble Shark, it's a rather round boy. Some might even say they're thick, as they have a cylindrical body that has a short head with a blunt nose, and it's not as wide as their mouth. They have two small dorsal fins just before their tail and a short pectoral fins, but they have longer square-shaped pelvic fins, so they're kind of just haphazardly thrown together. It's wild. They really look like someone started molding a shark out of clay and substituted the parts of the shark they couldn't remember with other fish and then proceeded to drop it on its face. Tried to salvage it because the project was due in 5 minutes, and we ended up with the Bramble Shark, which I absolutely love them. Their eyes are a little different than other sharks, as they do not have nictitating membranes, which nictitating membranes are a third eyelid that many animals have to help protect their eye while maintaining vision. You can see some sharks have this when it appears their eye moves deeper into or out of their eye socket when they close or open the membrane. So it's clear you can see through it, and you'll see sharks and other creatures like frogs use this sometimes. I think frogs have it. They might not. I'm not sure. But other sharks, for sure, when you're watching Shark Week, you'll see their eye either set further in or further out of their head, and that membrane will protect it in case they move it further in. But typical to many sharks, these sharks will have 5 gill slits, but their 5th pair is their longest. They have a brownish-blackish color to their backs and sides that have a purplish hue due to how their denticles line up with a pear underbelly. Now, nurse sharks also show off this purplish hue in certain settings. If you look closely at them in captivity, usually the light catches their denticles just right to show off that hue. I'll also compare these sharks to nurse sharks a little bit more down the line, as they share many similarities. But yes, I will also post a picture of that hue, as the last time I was at the Baltimore Aquarium, there was a nurse shark right up against the glass, and it had a beautiful purple hue coming off it with the light hitting it. It was great. I'll post a picture of it. Don't worry. Check the Instagram for that. They have a layer of mucus on their skin that is said to smell absolutely foul. So that, mixed with their almost haphazardly spaced denticles, with some containing thorn-like structures, the shark has earned a free spot on the list of sharks I'd rather not pet. Sounds like it wouldn't be very fun, and they'd probably bite me. So probably just don't pet sharks at all. It probably wouldn't be the best idea. Now, these sharks tend to grow to be about 10 to 10.2 feet long, or 3.05 to 3.1 meters, and can weigh up to 440 pounds or 200 kilograms. The Bramble shark can be found across Europe down to Mozambique, including the Mediterranean Sea, but a handful have been found around Massachusetts, North Carolina, and Louisiana, just to name this couple states in the U.S. We also have Brazil, Tobago, Argentina, Oman, Japan, South India, Southern Australia, and New Zealand. So they're kind of all over the world, but more peppered about rather than being actually everywhere, which is interesting. They enjoy depths of around 656.2 to 2,952.8 feet, or 2,000 to 900 meters, so a huge range there, and oh my goodness, the feet are really specific. They like continental shelves, as well as deep waters that can produce cold water upwells that can create a lot of nutrients, leading to more food availability. Similarly, I discussed how whale sharks were becoming more active in the northern Gulf of Mexico in previous news segments due to the upwelling of colder water from a trench bringing many nutrients and fish to feed on these nutrients. Whale sharks will show up to get those nutrients, and of course other fish will in other areas, which then brings the Bramble sharks closer to shores with that upwelling. In some cases, these sharks will come even shallower waters, to follow these upwelling cold waters, but can also be found to migrate to shallower waters during the summer and around some European countries. They have a smaller diet that includes crabs, smaller sharks such as spiny dogfish, and small bony fish. They have a rather large pharynx, which is a muscular tube in their throat, which has led researchers to believe that they hunt using suction similar to a nurse shark would. Suction feeding is a rather useful tool when you are a bigger shark, especially if you don't move very fast. But I imagine dying via suction feeding would be absolutely horrifying, but also kind of hilarious to imagine you're just going along and all of a sudden a vacuum sucks you up and spits you out a bunch of times. Absolutely crazy. But overall, these sharks have been described as sluggish in nature, which would help to have a suction feeding style to trap their prey. And bramble sharks give live birth and give birth to anywhere from 15 to 52 pups at a time. Females have 2 uteruses or uteri, which I looked both up and they are correct. But that is just wild words to pronounce in general. But having multiple do help to facilitate high numbers of these pups, because 52 is absolutely just mind-blowing. It's crazy. But these sharks do pose a threat to humans, as they are often caught as bycatch or by sport fishermen in the eastern Atlantic. And when they are in shallower waters, they can encounter humans much more, which leads to more bites. It's kind of like we don't have a whole lot of bites among sharks that are in the deep, deep ocean, as there's not too many humans that are down there. Or if there are, there's submarines and things, and they tend to not bite those as much. But we don't see the deep sea sharks very close to shore. We see a lot of humans close to shore. Sharks close to shore equals more bites. But these guys are also used in a variety of products, including fish meal, some oils for medicine, and other oils to coat boats, which is rather wild to me. Like, I'm just going to go oil up my canoe or kayak with shark oil real quick. Don't mind me. But, to each their own, I guess. But that is what I have for the bramble shark. If you guys have any questions, comments, or feel that I messed anything up and you'd like to correct that, please send that over my way, and I will be more than happy to add that to the next correction corner. But going into shark safety, this week we're going to be looking at how to respect sharks in captivity. And this one came from a couple sharkeers. I think the 2 that sent them to me did not want any credit for that, so you will remain anonymous. And if you did, I very much apologize. Feel free to reach out to me and send in more suggestions, and I will be more than happy to shout you out on that one. But the information I got here is from sharktrust.org, so if you'd like more information, you can go over there and check them out. But this has been a highly debated topic from the dawn of time, it seems like, and that's if sharks should be kept in captivity at all. And I personally feel that seeing sharks in an aquarium from a young age sparked my love for them more than seeing them on TV or in a book would be able to do. But I believe that zoos and aquariums have become more responsible and reliable when it comes to animal care and longevity for them. We can learn so much from animals in captivity that we would not be able to if we only encountered them in the wild. And especially it's hard to find some specimens in the wild. Whale sharks are rather abundant around Cancun, especially around this time of year, but it's kind of hard to keep track of them. Plus, even if we do put trackers on them, who's to say that something's not going to happen to that shark and we're not going to be able to collect any more data? Plus, we can't observe behaviors and things like that, and it doesn't have the same weight to it. But thanks to organizations like the AZA, which is the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, that ensures that animals are not being mistreated and will shut down zoos or aquariums that are not up to the proper standards in order to protect animals in captivity. Now, just because a zoo is not AZA accredited, this does not mean that they are abusing animals or that they are a bad zoo. So, for example, the Salisbury Zoo in Maryland is a free zoo that students at the local university, my alma mater, by the way, let's go Gulls. But those that live around the area or anyone passing through can visit. So if you're ever on the Eastern Shore, definitely recommend it. But they were AZA accredited when I was down there in school, and shortly after lost their accreditation due to not being able to afford, I believe it was a $6 million building for quarantine and husbandry for animal purposes. But they had been taking steps to regain their accreditation, and especially being a free zoo, a $6 million building is a hefty ask, but I believe they were working on getting that in and doing different upgrades to the zoo the last time we had visited. But this zoo and similar zoos treat their animals well, but require more assistance and growth to gain the accreditation. On the opposite end, many believe that zoos and aquariums are animal prisons and that take animals directly from their natural habitat and can cut their life drastically. Now, I can't say this is 100% false, as there are definitely zoos in the world that have acquired their animals by illegal methods and would support the argument that zoos are not great. But everyone is entitled to their own opinion and are more than welcome to disagree with me and never step foot in a zoo and aquarium, and I'm not going to force you to do so nor tell you you're wrong, as evidence will always be changing, and for all I know, everything I know could be wrong and could change tomorrow. So all I ask is just to respect everyone's opinion on the topic, as we all come from different backgrounds, which will affect our opinion on it. But getting back on track, how can you respect sharks that aren't in an aquarium? Most listening are not aquarium curators, are not in charge of how your local aquarium sources their animals. So in this case, all you can do is your research. Now, this means that you're just going to have to look into which one is AZA accredited and which ones are not, and also look into what they're doing in order to get accredited, or if they don't want to get accredited, what they're doing to take care of their animals. In the case of the Salisbury Zoo, they still followed AZA guidelines and had been working with other zoos nearby to care for their animals without interruption and gain insight on care that should be added. Now, things to look for include how they source their animals, food, increase their education for the public, support captive breeding programs, contribute to conservation, and how they treat special species, as I call them. Now, special species would be something like a white tiger that are not naturally occurring species, as it is a tiger with albinism that was bred with another tiger with albinism to ensure that this quote-unquote rare breed would continue. But now they've been inbred so much that their skull is too big for their head, their eyes are almost always crossed, and they can have a slew of medical issues. You can also encourage your local aquarium to conduct further research on animals that they want to acquire if they have been issues with them in the past. Georgia Aquarium received pushback when announcing they had acquired whale sharks and were at one point one of 2 aquariums in the world that housed them. When they were looked into further, it was determined they could hold more whale sharks than they currently had, and they were conducting so much research to advance the understanding of this relatively unknown species and promoted education among the public to understand that species. So, to make it brief and succinct, research institutions that you want to visit and support and encourage the advancement of animal care in any setting by asking keepers questions, supporting institutions that meet the standards of the animal care that you feel are necessary for the animals. Now, sidebar, when talking to keepers, remember to be respectful. They can't control the quality of care decisions that higher-ups make. If they tell you something surprising, you can ask for more information, but do not take frustrations out on them. Ask them to speak out against their higher-ups or accuse them of mistreating the animals. They're just trying to do their job the same way that the rest of us are. Going back to the Georgia Aquarium a little bit as well, they also got their whale sharks from what would have been a fish market. Given the 2 options, would they rather be in captivity or food? I personally would rather be in captivity. I'd rather not be eaten. And many zoos and aquariums are still working on these accreditations, and even if they don't have them, are treating their animals well. Accreditations are constantly changing and evolving. Just want to also give a shout out to Zoo Tampa. I believe they just reached 25 years of accreditation, which is incredible. ZA works all around the world. They've also worked to shut down, I believe there was like an aquarium over on the eastern side of Florida. I can't remember exactly where it was. I think it was somewhere in Miami. They shut that one down, or they helped to get public outcry to shut it down because they were really doing not great with taking care of their animals, and thankfully I believe all of them will be rehoused somewhere. Another one that gets a lot of flack is SeaWorld. Now, I myself have never been to SeaWorld, and of course some horrible things have occurred there, but there are many things that are going on to try to increase the care that is given to animals there. Some of you may never want to step foot in SeaWorld and may feel that you hate it. I'm not going to push your decision one way or another. I myself have not been there. I'm curious, but I'm not sure if I'm going to go. There's many different things to play here. Another thing as well, the Baltimore Aquarium as well, just to talk about them for the 8 millionth time. But they're currently building a sanctuary out in the Bahamas for their dolphins, I believe I saw. And they're eventually going to take all of their dolphins and put them out over into the Bahamas, back in the wild, which is great. And they're going to make sure that they have an area where they'll still be safe and monitored. So that way they're not just going to throw an animal that was bred in captivity back into the wild, because they tried that with, I believe it was Tillicum not the Baltimore Aquarium. I think it was SeaWorld. Someone did that with Tillicum way back years ago, and they ended up dying in the wild because they didn't know how to hunt or anything like that. So there are instances where aquariums are going to be more helpful than they are going to be hurtful. So that's just something I want you all to consider. And once again, I don't have an answer. Are aquariums good? Are they bad? I feel that they're good. I feel that we should keep going to them, but I also don't have answers to, well, what about breeding in captivity and things like that? Those will be things that we have to look into. But respecting the animals is going to come down to looking into each institution that you want to visit individually. Of course, there's going to be some you get excited and go to, and usually you're going to find they're doing a good job anyway. For the most part, many zoos and aquariums do want to do a good job and keep these animals safe and healthy. But as I mentioned, there are many that do not. So there's going to be different things to look into. Just try to look into it before you get there. If it's not very great, one of the things you can do is voice your complaints to wherever their comment box is. Sometimes, unfortunately, that's a paper shredder and they don't care. But trying to cause a big stir and public outcry isn't always the best idea. Sometimes it's just alerting the proper organization, reaching out to the AZA, things like that might be the most helpful, but that is also something to look further into. But that is what I had for the shark safety portion. It wasn't a whole bunch of safety. One thing I'll add is, of course, don't try jumping into the tanks at the aquariums and stuff like that. Usually they won't bother you because they're not hungry, but also at the same time, like, don't just jump in a tank. That's weird. Don't do that. Another thing, if you don't feel like an animal should be in a touch tank, talk to the person working there. They might be able to tell you something different. So ask questions, do research, and that is the best way you can respect animals that are in captivity in general. So there we are. But if you guys have any questions, comments, I'm personally not going to debate anyone hardcore on whether or not they're good or bad. You are more than entitled to have that opinion, and if you want to talk more about it, I'm more than happy to, but I'm not looking to argue with anyone is my main point there. But of course, if you guys have any questions, anything like that, feel free to send them over on the Instagram or the Twitter/X. Now, going on to the shark news. Now, there are a couple ones that came up that people sent to me. So the first one is going to be the latest update on the pregnant North Carolina stingray who shared an aquarium tank with sharks. And this one came from George on Instagram. And this one also, I got my information from the Charlotte Observer. Now, a lot of you may have heard about this, so to fill in those who have not, a round stingray in a North Carolina aquarium was pregnant with 5 pups despite not sharing a tank with a male in over 8 years. There are, however, 5 male sharks in her enclosure, and she did have bite marks, which could indicate mating. It could also indicate that she spooked a shark and got bit out of a reaction, which can also happen. Now, this really blew up because TikTok went wild with this one, with some users claiming that there will be a new shark ray breed, while others are saying that we have the first ray Jesus. God, I love that app, which is not sarcastic. It eats up too much of my time. But experts have stated that the DNA is not close enough to allow species to successfully breed together. What is more likely is what bamboo sharks have done in the past, which is able to store the male reproductive needs for long periods of time and fertilize the eggs at a later date. Now, the babies have not come yet as of last check, so I might need to double check that again. So we do not have a definitive answer, but it's looking like we're just going to have ray babies. Experts could be wrong, though, and we could find out something completely new. As I mentioned earlier, information and research is always changing. For all we know, there could be some species that can interbreed. We'll find out. But going on, we have the great white sighting may reveal a holy grail of shark science. And this was sent to me by Zion. I'm hoping I'm saying your name right. Sorry if I am not. But I got this information from CN. Now, a 5-foot great white shark was spotted off the coast of California a few weeks ago, probably now a couple months ago. Some of you may be thinking, okay, cool, why is that important? And I'm glad you asked, because we see great whites all over there. Now, great whites also grow to be pretty freaking big. Some can get up to 16 to 24 feet, so a 5-foot shark is a tiny one. It was also very pale in color, which most great whites are gray on top and white at the bottom. They can eat embryo white in the womb and milk secreted from the mother. So this shark was also shedding a white layer, which could have been the embryonic coating, meaning it's a fresh newborn. But why is that so exciting? Because it hasn't happened before. This will be the first filming or maybe even sighting of a newborn great white. This could also simply be a case of just having a shark with a skin disorder, but the size and location of a known pupping ground for pregnant great whites indicates could be a newborn. Now, this is currently being debated by shark experts, as some say it's purely speculation, while others say it's incredibly fascinating. No matter what, it's still really cool to see, and the fact that it's even a possibility is just amazing, and this is why I love looking to sharks. But that is what I had for this episode. I wanted to thank you all for listening once again. Follow the Instagram for more updates at Deep Dives with Sharks or Twitter/X at Deep Dive Sharks. I run polls, stuff throughout the week. See what y'all would like to hear. Send any comments, questions, or anything of the sort. And lastly, give this a rating on Apple, Spotify. Share it with anyone who will listen. And not sure when I'll be back. I'll do my best to keep interacting with everyone. I'm just going to send out the next couple episodes the next couple weeks, so that way we'll have the movie reviews, things like that. And I'll see if you guys want to know a little bit more about me, so we'll find out. But you all take care, be kind to each other, and I will see you in the next one.